Sometimes the most powerful move isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It's the one move they never expect. No move at all. Let that sink in for a second. Because right now, you probably think action is the answer. You think if you block them, they'll get the message. If you cut them off, they'll finally realize what they lost. If you just explain yourself one more time, they'll finally understand. And if you beg, maybe, just maybe, they'll wake up and see your worth. But here's the truth. Real power doesn't live in the noise. It lives in the silence. You don't win by proving. You don't win by reacting. You win by doing the one thing they never anticipated, nothing. Before we dive deep, take a second, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay until the end. Because what I'm about to share with you will flip the script in a way they'll never recover from, and you'll never forget. Now imagine this. You're at a magic show. The magician is putting on a great performance, pulling rabbits out of hats, reading minds, making things disappear. The crowd is hooked, entertained, amazed. Then, mid-trick, he just stops. No explanation, no finale, no thank you. He just walks off the stage. The audience is stunned. They can't move on. They're left asking, what happened? Where did he go? How does it end? That is how you break someone, without saying a single word. See, people expect closure. They expect a reaction. They've memorized the pattern: anger, sadness, dramatic texts, desperate goodbyes. They know how that game works. But when you don't play, when you don't send a message, when you don't explain yourself, when you vanish like a ghost in the night, that's when their mind starts spinning. That's when confusion takes over. That's when regret creeps in. Because blocking them, that's obvious. It screams, I'm mad. Begging, that's obvious too. It tells them, I still care. But pure, unexplained absence, that's different. That's powerful. That's unforgettable. Think about it. Imagine a store you've been going to for years. One day you show up, and it's just gone. No sign, no warning, no going out of business sale. It's locked up tight like it never existed. And now every time you pass by, you keep wondering, why did it close? What happened? Did I miss something? But if that same store had posted, we're closing in 7 days, you'd say your goodbyes. You'd move on. End of story. That's how the mind works. People don't chase what's blocked. They chase what they can't figure out. They don't long for what's screaming for their attention. They long for what slipped away quietly before they ever had the chance to hold on. And here's the cold, hard truth. Most people don't care when they hurt you. They care when it starts to hurt them. That's why you don't waste another second trying to make them see your worth. They had their chance. They didn't see it. So now you make sure they feel it. From this moment forward, no more chasing, no more explaining, no more trying to prove anything to anyone. Let your silence speak. Let your absence echo. Let time deliver the lesson your words never could. So when they finally realize what they lost, you'll already be so far ahead, so deeply at peace, that their recognition won't even register on your radar. Now say it out loud with me. I owe no one my energy. Type it in the comments. Write it down. Own it. Live it. Because the moment you truly believe those words, you begin taking your power back in ways that no one, not even they, can undo. And if you're ready to do that, if you're ready to reclaim your strength, tap that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next will shift everything. They will never see you the same way again. Lesson 1, the silent shift that breaks them. You don't break someone by chasing their attention. You don't teach them a lesson by fighting to be seen. You don't get the outcome you want by flooding them with emotion, whether it's anger, heartbreak, or indifference. You break them by doing the one thing they didn't expect. making them question whether they ever truly mattered to you at all. Let that settle in for a second. Right now, you might believe that blocking them will send the clearest message, that cutting them off will finally make them realize what they did, that reacting, even just once, might shake them enough to wake them up. But here's the truth they'll never say out loud. People don't panic when you block them. They panic when they can no longer read you. They panic when they realize they've lost access, not just to your phone, but to your presence, your emotional energy, your consistency. They lose the comfort of knowing where they stand. They lose the security of predicting your response. And suddenly their control, gone. Picture it like this: a puppet master pulling strings, in total control. Every tug makes the puppet dance, react, respond. Now imagine those strings are suddenly cut. The puppet falls, lifeless. The master pulls again, nothing. Tugs harder, nothing. That's when panic sets in. Not because they've lost the puppet, but because they've lost the illusion of control. That's what happens when you go quiet, when you stop explaining, when you vanish without noise, without drama, without a goodbye. They expected a scene. They expected long texts, voice notes, teary calls. They expected you to come running with explanations, closure-seeking, begging to be understood. Instead, silence, cold, echoing silence. Now they're lying in bed, scrolling through old messages. They're checking your page, rereading conversations, staring at a screen that no longer lights up with your name. And here's the part they'll never admit to anyone. They don't miss you at first. No one ever does at first. At first, they enjoy their so-called freedom. They tell themselves they made the right call. They convince others, and maybe even themselves, that they don't care. But silence? Silence is like slow poison. It doesn't strike right away. It seeps in over time, quietly, deeply. It starts with a thought, then a memory, then a question they can't shake. Why aren't they reaching out? And suddenly the emptiness hits. Because while they were bracing for an explosion, what they got was a vanishing act, an unexplainable emptiness they never saw coming. And now, this is the part where your fear tries to talk you out of it. Right now, your mind's whispering, but if I don't block them, won't they think I still care? Won't they believe they have the upper hand? Won't they just move on and forget me? That's the trap. That's the mental trick that keeps you stuck. That's the lie your mind tells you in moments of weakness, trying to convince you that closure is something you owe them. Let's be honest. Did they give you closure? Did they sit down, look you in the eye, and explain their actions with care? Did they take time to consider your emotions before walking away? Did they offer you peace, understanding, or even basic respect? Number they left. They walked away, cold, distant, unapologetic. Not because they were strong, but because they assumed you'd always be there. They assumed that whenever they felt ready, they could come back, that you'd be waiting, that your heart would still be open, that your loyalty would still be theirs. But now you're flipping the script. Picture this. You walk into a store. Everything is free. No price tags, no rules, no effort required. Take whatever you want. Leave whenever you please. It feels fun at first, convenient, effortless. But one day, without warning, the store is gone. No closing soon signs, no final sale, just vanished. Suddenly, that store you once took for granted, you can't stop thinking about it because now you realize it had value. That's what happens when you go silent, when you stop being available, when you stop reacting, when you stop giving them the comfort of knowing you're still there. But let's not pretend this is easy. Silence is uncomfortable. It's heavy. It feels like you're the one being punished, like you're the one losing. You'll want to check your phone. You'll want to see if they noticed. You'll want to send one more message just to feel something. But every time you do that, every time you break your own silence, you hand your power back to them. You tell them, you still matter. You still control me. And that's what ends today. Because the moment they feel your absence, the moment they reach out and find nothing, that's when regret begins. Not when you cry, not when you post quotes about pain, not even when you tell them how deeply they hurt you. They regret losing you when they realize they no longer know you. They thought they had you figured out. They thought they could predict your next move. They thought your reactions were guaranteed. But what happens when you stop playing that role? What happens when you go quiet? When you stop reacting? When you remove their sense of control? It messes with them. Because people don't fear losing you. They fear losing control over you. They fear uncertainty. They fear the unknown. And when they can't read your silence, when they don't know what you're thinking, when they wonder if you ever even loved them in the first place, that's when it starts eating them alive. Here's what you need to understand. The longer you stay silent, the stronger you become. The longer you withhold your reaction, the more powerful your presence becomes in your absence. The longer you let them sit in confusion, in their own regret, in their own replay of events, the more they begin to feel the consequences of what they did. Because at first, they'll fake it. They'll act unbothered. They'll distract themselves with noise and novelty. But then, the silence turns against them. They'll start to wonder, why aren't you reaching out? Are you over them? Did you ever really care? And when those questions echo in their head with no answer, that's when the shift begins. That's the moment it starts to sting. That's when the silence isn't just quiet, it's deafening. And by the time they finally realize what they lost, you won't even care anymore. So now, my friend, it's decision time. You have a choice to make. You can keep explaining yourself. You can keep hoping they'll understand. You can keep giving them the comfort of knowing you're still watching, still waiting, still open. Or you can let your absence say everything your voice never could. Now repeat this with me. My silence is my power. Type it in the comments. Declare it. Live it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done explaining, done reacting, done giving your time, energy, and emotion to people who never earned it. And trust me, what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never look at you the same way again. Number 2, stop begging. Make them feel your absence instead. Let this truth settle in for a moment. If words could have changed them, they would have changed already. Right now, you believe words have power. You believe if you just explain yourself better, if you find the perfect sentence, if you pour your heart out one more time, they'll finally get it. They'll finally wake up and see your worth. But let me ask you, did they listen before? When you told them how much you were hurting, did they change? When you asked for respect, did they give it? When you were honest, vulnerable, raw, did they show up for you? They didn't, because most people don't regret losing you when you cry. They don't regret losing you when you're still answering, still engaging, still holding the door open. They only regret it when they can't reach you, when your voice disappears, when your presence is no longer guaranteed, when they finally go looking and you're nowhere to be found. That's when reality crashes in. That's when the weight of their decisions starts pressing down on them, quietly, slowly, relentlessly. Picture a radio station playing in the background. It's been on so long you don't even hear it anymore. It fades into the noise. You take it for granted. You assume it'll always be there. But one day, you turn the dial. Silence. No music, no signal, just static. And suddenly, you feel the emptiness. That's when you notice what you had. That's when you realize what's missing. That's exactly what happens when you remove yourself from someone's life. They don't appreciate your presence until it becomes silence. They don't value you until you're no longer available on demand. But right now, let's be honest, you're still making it too easy. You're still answering their late night texts, still responding to their just checking in messages, still hoping deep down that they'll wake up and chase after you. You're still leaving breadcrumbs, still cracking the door open, still hoping they'll step through and see your worth. And you wonder, why don't they respect you? Here's why. People don't miss what they think they'll always have. They don't regret what they believe is still within reach. And as long as you keep showing up, as long as you keep making yourself emotionally available, they won't feel your absence. They won't have to. And now the fear starts to creep in. You're thinking, but what if I stop responding and they forget about me? What if I go quiet and they move on? That fear, that panic, is what keeps you stuck in the cycle. It convinces you to keep showing up for someone who stopped showing up for you. But let me ask you something. What's more painful, them forgetting you, or you forgetting yourself while chasing someone who doesn't deserve you? You're afraid that if you don't check in, they'll forget you. That if you don't make yourself seen, liking their posts, watching their stories, reacting to their breadcrumbs, they'll assume you never cared. But let me tell you something straight and raw. If someone can forget you just because you stopped chasing them, they were never yours to begin with. That's the truth you need to face. Because people who truly value you, who truly respect you, they don't need constant reminders. They don't need proof that you still exist. They don't need to see your name pop up in their notifications to remember your worth. The real ones, they feel your absence even in silence. They know your value even without the spotlight. But the others, the ones who only come running when they sense you slipping away, they don't miss you. They miss the validation you used to give them. They miss the attention, the reassurance that no matter how little they gave, you were still there. That's not love. That's convenience. And that's why it's time to change the game completely. It's time they feel what they never appreciated. Because nothing hits harder than realizing they no longer have access to you. They can't just call you and expect an answer. They can't just send a lazy hey and have you come running. They can't half love you and still keep you orbiting around their life like you're waiting for scraps. Not anymore. So starting today, no more checking their page. No more wondering when they'll reach out. No more replying to their weak, half-hearted attempts to keep you emotionally on standby. Because every time you respond, every time you engage, every time you let them know you still care, you give them relief. You make it easy for them to move on without consequences, without ever truly feeling the loss. But let me tell you something important. People only regret losing you when you make sure they actually lose you. Let's make it real. Imagine someone walking into a store. They see an item they like. They pick it up, carry it around, maybe admire it a bit, but they never buy it. They assume, I'll come back later. But when they return, it's gone, sold, off the shelf, no longer available. And now they want it more than ever. Why? Because it's no longer an option. Because the opportunity has vanished. That's how the human mind works. We don't crave what's always there. We crave what we can't have anymore. So let them feel it. Let them sit in the silence. Let them open their phone and wonder why your name hasn't appeared. Let them scroll through the past and feel the emptiness of a world where you no longer exist for them. Because when someone realizes they've lost something they thought they'd always have, that's when regret becomes real. And by the time they understand what they lost, you'll already be too far ahead to care. Now say it with me. I refuse to be an option. Type it in the comments. Speak it with your whole chest. Say it not for them, but for yourself. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done proving your worth to someone who never earned the right to hold it in the first place. And trust me, what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never see you the same way again. Stay with me. This is just getting started. So no, you don't slam the door. You leave it open just enough for them to feel the cold from the outside. Watch. You don't need to erase them. You don't need to make a scene. You just need to become someone they can no longer reach, no matter how hard they try. Let that sink in. Right now, you might think that blocking them is the ultimate power move, that cutting them off completely will teach them a lesson they'll never forget, that deleting them from your world will finally make them realize what they lost. But here's the truth. Blocking them doesn't break them. It gives them closure. It gives them a story to tell themselves, oh, they're just mad. They're being dramatic. They'll get over it. And that's exactly what makes it easier for them to move on. Because now they know where they stand. Now they can explain it away. Now they can wrap it all up in a neat little box and walk away without guilt. But real power is in not reacting. Real power is in leaving the door cracked open, just enough for them to see what they lost, but never ever enough for them to step back inside. Imagine this. You walk past a house every day. It's old, familiar. You've been inside before. You know the layout. You know the smell. You know the feeling. You don't really think about it. It's just there. But one day, something's different. The windows are now tinted. The front door is locked. You still see lights inside, warmth, laughter, movement, but you're not invited anymore. You see glimpses of life, glimpses of growth. But no matter how many times you walk by, you're on the outside now. That's what happens when you don't block them. When you just disappear from their life, but still exist in the world, growing, glowing, thriving without them. That's when the regret starts to burn. Now they don't know what's happening in your world. They don't know who you're with. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know if you're happy or if you even remember them at all. And that uncertainty, that unanswered question, that silence, it messes with them. It spins in their head like a storm they can't shut off. See, people expect to be blocked. They expect the angry outburst. They expect you to cry, post quotes, send one last message. They expect a big emotional reaction to confirm they still matter. But when you don't, when you just vanish, not like a ghost, but like someone who has outgrown their presence completely, that's what shakes them to their core. Because when someone blocks you, you know where you stand. You know they're mad. You know they still feel something. But when someone stops engaging, stops reacting, stops acknowledging your existence altogether, that's when the panic begins. That's when they start asking, did I really lose them? Are they really over me? Did I ever really matter? And now you're thinking, but if I don't block them, won't they think I still care? Won't they believe they can come back? That's fear talking. That's your mind feeding you a lie to keep you stuck. Because here's the truth. Blocking someone doesn't mean you've moved on. It just means you still care enough to react. And you're done reacting. You're smarter than that. You don't block them. You become unavailable, not with a big dramatic exit, but by slowly fading into a life that no longer includes them. Not in your mind, not in your plans, not in your future. You stop giving them access. You stop letting them believe they have a pass to walk back in anytime they want. And you do it quietly, elegantly, with dignity, because nothing confuses someone more than seeing you happy, successful, and completely unbothered. Without them, they're watching, they're checking, they're scrolling through your page, looking for clues, searching for signs that you still care. And every time they see you, smiling, thriving, living your best life without them, it eats away at them because they thought they had time. They thought they could come back whenever they felt like it, that you'd be waiting. But now they're realizing something brutal. Every step you take forward is another step they can't follow. Every day you keep going is another day they're falling further behind. And this is where most people mess up. They think that making someone regret losing them means posting flashy pictures, dropping cryptic quotes, throwing subtle jabs on social media. But let me tell you what real power looks like. Real power is silence. Real power is mystery. Real power is letting them realize they have no idea what's going on in your world anymore, because nothing haunts someone more than not knowing. Here's the truth you need to remember. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to force your glow up. You don't need to perform happiness for anyone. Just keep moving, keep living, keep growing. And the further you go, the smaller they become. While they're still sitting there, refreshing your profile, replaying old memories, wondering if you miss them, you've already forgotten they exist. And by the time they finally gather the courage to reach out, by the time they realize they let something priceless slip through their fingers, you'll be so far ahead, you won't even hear them knocking. So here's the moment of choice. You can keep blocking, keep reacting, keep showing them they still have an effect on you. Or you can let them watch, let them wonder, let them regret. Now say it with me. I don't chase. I don't block. I become unreachable. Type it in the comments. Make it real. Own it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done making it easy for people to forget you. You are done handing out access to those who never earned it. And trust me, what's coming next? It's going to shatter the image they had of you, because we're not done. Number 4, reverse the power dynamic. Let this land deep in your soul. They only chase when they feel they've lost control. Right now, they think they've got you figured out. They think they know your next move. They believe, without a doubt, that you'll always be there, waiting, hoping, reacting. And that's exactly why they don't respect you. Because people don't respect what's always available. They don't value what's easy. They don't chase comfort. They only start to feel the loss when they realize they no longer control your emotions, when their presence no longer shakes you, when their absence no longer breaks you. So if they ever thought they could pull your strings forever, it's time to cut those strings and watch who really starts dancing. Imagine a slot machine that pays out every time. No risk, no suspense, just reward after reward. At first, it's exciting. You feel lucky. You feel seen. But over time, you stop caring. You stop appreciating it. You stop valuing the win because there's no challenge, no mystery, no fear of losing. But the moment that machine stops working, the moment you pull the lever and get nothing, that's when frustration kicks in. That's when the panic begins. That's when the game becomes real. That's exactly how people work. They don't chase you when you're always there. They don't value the replies that always come. They don't respect the presence that never fades. They only start chasing you when you stop being available, when they reach out and there's no response, when they call and you don't answer, when they realize they might have lost access to something they never truly appreciated. And right now, let's be honest, you've made it too easy. You keep answering. You keep showing up. You keep responding to their breadcrumbs, holding on to that tiny hope that maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. But here's what they've learned. You're still there, still reachable, still reacting. And that's exactly why they're relaxed. That's why they're not rushing back, because they believe they still have you. But the second you stop, the second you shift the power dynamic, everything changes. Now they're the ones checking their phone. Now they're the ones feeling the silence. Now they're sitting with that creeping doubt. Did I lose them? Have they really moved on? Is it too late? And let me tell you what happens next. They start chasing, Not because they suddenly realize your worth, not because they've grown, not because they've changed. Number they chase because they need to feel in control again. They crave the reassurance that they can still walk in and out of your life at will, that they can still say hey and have you come running, that they still own a piece of you. And this is where most people fail. The moment they get that first weak message, hey, how have you been? They jump. They think, this is it. They finally understand what they lost. But no, they don't. They're not chasing because they miss you. They're chasing because they miss the power they had over you. And the second you respond, you give that power right back. But not this time. This time, you let them feel it. This time, you don't rush to reply. You don't give in to that urge to prove you've moved on. You don't explain. You don't defend. You don't break your silence. Because this time, you're in control. And let me be clear, this won't be easy. You'll feel that itch, that craving to respond, that little voice whispering, show them you don't care anymore. But hear me now, true power doesn't come from proving anything. True power comes from no longer needing to. The strongest move you can ever make is the one they never expected. So what do? You stay silent. You keep growing. You keep thriving. You keep living like they never even existed. Because while they're out there wondering if you'll reply, you're out here building a life they'll never be part of again. And that silence is louder than any words you could ever say. You've taken back your silence. You've taken back your power. Now it's time to show them they were never the exception. Let them sit with it. Let them feel what they once made you feel: uncertainty, doubt, regret. Because the second they finally realize they've lost you for good, that's when the real panic begins. And by then, you won't even care. Now say it with me. I am no longer in their control. Type it in the comments. Make it real. Say it loud, not for them, but for yourself. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. You're done being predictable. Done being an option. Done being the one who waits. Number 5, make them feel replaceable. They thought they were special until you showed them they were just another face in the crowd. Let that hit you deep. Right now, someone out there still believes they've got a grip on you. They think you're still sitting exactly where they left you, waiting, hoping, breaking. They convince themselves that you'd never move on, that no one else could ever take their place. That's the lie they tell themselves, the illusion they hold on to, because it makes them feel powerful. But what happens when you prove them wrong? What happens when they see you thriving, smiling, glowing, evolving, without them? That's when the regret creeps in. That's when the tables turn. They expected you to be stuck. They expected you to be miserable, still sitting in the wreckage of the past, replaying every memory, waiting for their return. But instead, you became the one thing they never thought you'd be: untouchable. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a musician who's obsessed with one single instrument. They pour everything into it, convinced it's the only source of music they'll ever need. But one day, it's gone. And suddenly, they look up and realize there's an entire orchestra around them. Violins, pianos, drums, a whole symphony of sound they never even considered. And in that moment, they realize they were never the music. You were. That's what happens when they finally understand. You were never dependent on them. Their absence didn't break you. It freed you. But right now, I know what you're thinking. What if I can't really replace them? What if no one else will make me feel the way they did? That's the trap. That's the fear. That's the lie your mind feeds you to keep you stuck. Because the truth is, you were never afraid of losing them. You were afraid of losing the idea of them, the version you built in your mind, the fantasy version, the one that was kind, consistent, and worthy. But let's be honest, if they were really that special, you wouldn't be here right now trying to figure out how to make them regret losing you. Because real love, real connection, it doesn't leave you questioning your worth. It doesn't make you beg for attention. It doesn't make you jump through hoops just to feel seen. And that's why now is the time to wake up. Because nothing shatters someone's ego faster than seeing the one they thought they owned in the arms of someone else. Someone who sees your value. Someone who doesn't make you earn affection. Someone who doesn't play games. That's what breaks them. Not the photos, not the quotes, not the messages, but the reality that you've moved on. And they are no longer part of your story. They thought they were the main story. Now they're realizing they were just a footnote in a chapter you already closed. Nothing stings more than realizing you were just a stepping stone in someone else's journey. Nothing hits harder than watching someone you took for granted become completely unreachable. But here's where most people mess up. They think the way to prove they've moved on is to post flashy photos with someone new, to make their ex jealous, to force them to see what they lost. But that's not power. Real power? It's moving so far forward. You forget you were ever trying to prove anything at all, because when you truly replace them, not with another person, but with a better life, that's when they start to crumble. That's when they start questioning everything. Picture this. A child throws away an old toy, thinking it's worthless. At first, they don't care. They're sure something better will come along. But one day, they walk past a playground and see another child playing with that same toy, laughing, smiling, appreciating it in a way they never did. And suddenly, they want it back. Suddenly, they remember what they had. They realize they never appreciated it until it was gone. That's how regret works. At first, they're feeling free. They're out there partying, posting, pretending, too distracted, too caught up in their ego. They don't feel the loss yet. But then, time begins to do its work. They start comparing. They start scrolling. They start realizing what they had with you wasn't ordinary. It was rare. It was steady. It was real. And now, they've lost it. Because by the time they finally see you, shining, growing, becoming someone they'll never touch again, that's when it burns. And you're not even looking back. So now, my friend, it's time to make a decision. You can keep sitting in the past. Keep waiting for them to get it. Keep hoping one day they'll wake up and realize what they lost. Or you can show them that they were never the destination. They were just a rest stop, a lesson, a detour on your path to something far greater. Now say it with me. I am irreplaceable. Type it in the comments. Speak it into existence. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're done waiting for people to recognize your worth. Number 6, the power of unpredictability. A person they can't read is a person they can't control. Let that land in your soul, because right now, they think they've got you mapped out. They expect the late night text, the emotional post, the slip up where you check their story. They expect you to act out, to show them you're still hurting, because that's the role they assigned you. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you go silent? Not as a ghost, but as a mystery? That's when the panic sets in. That's when they start asking questions they can't answer. Why aren't they reacting? Have they moved on? Did I not matter at all? And that thought, that unanswered question, it'll haunt them. It'll sit in the back of their mind, whispering doubts into every quiet moment. They thought they had you figured out. But now, you're a riddle they can't solve. And that mystery is what keeps them up at night. You're not just a memory anymore. You're a song they can't stop hearing in their head. It plays on repeat, echoing through the silence they use to find comfort in. Because here's the truth. People don't fear losing what they understand. They fear losing what they can't predict. Imagine watching a movie. The tension builds, the music swells. You're right at the edge of your seat, and then the screen goes black. No finale, no answers, no closure, just darkness. What do? You replay every scene. You try to piece it together. You need to know how it ends. That's exactly what happens when you become unpredictable. See, they expected a version of you, the one who chases, who begs for answers, who sends long messages, who shows them, even in your pain, that they still mattered. But when you don't give them that, when you stop being predictable, when you stop reacting the way they've come to expect, they lose their grip. Because control isn't about chaining someone down. It's the confidence of knowing you could get them back whenever you want. And right now, they still believe that. They still think, if I message you, you'll reply. If I post something meaningful, you'll see it. If I say the right words, you'll come back. But what happens when you don't? What happens when they're left on red? Not just in messages, but in life. What happens when they try to bait you? And you don't bite? When they check their story views hoping to find your name, and it's not there, they spiral. Because suddenly they're the ones waiting. They're the ones refreshing. They're the ones zooming in on every post, trying to decode your silence. And the longer it lasts, the more they realize they don't know you anymore. And that drives people insane. Let's be real. Certainty is comfort. When someone knows where they stand with you, they don't fear losing you. They assume they still have you. But when you take away that certainty, when you become a blank page, a locked journal, an unsolved mystery, that's when you become unforgettable. Now I know what you're thinking, but if I stop reacting, won't they move on? Won't they forget about me? Because the mind never lets go of what it doesn't understand. The things that haunt us the most, they're not the relationships with clear endings. They're the ones that left us wondering, the unanswered questions, the missed goodbyes, the silence after the storm. That's what we carry, and that's why you don't explain yourself. You don't react. You don't try to make them jealous. You don't post for their attention. You don't give them the ending they were expecting. You let them sit in the confusion. You let them feel the weight of their own choices. But here's where most people fall apart. They think unpredictability is about playing games. They think it means flaunting someone new, faking happiness, staging a glow-up just to get a reaction. But real unpredictability, real power, it comes from one thing only: genuine indifference. The kind that doesn't need performance. The kind that comes from true peace, from actual healing, from moving on quietly, deeply, fully. Because when you're really unpredictable, it's not a game. It's not an act. It's freedom. And by the time they finally work up the courage to reach out, by the time they realize they lost someone rare, you'll have already become someone they don't even recognize. Not colder, not bitter, just untouchable. They thought they knew how your story would end. But now all they're left with is a blank page. And that silence, it's louder than any goodbye. So now, my friends, it's time to make a choice. You can keep being predictable, keep reacting, keep proving, keep handing your power away like a souvenir to people who never earned it. Or you can become the one thing they never saw coming, a mystery they'll never solve. Say it with me. I am unpredictable. I am unforgettable. Drop it in the comments. Not for them. For you. For the version of you that's done being an open book for people who never even deserve to hold a cover. Number 7. Give them no closure. Let it haunt them. Let that line settle deep. Because right now you're probably fighting the urge to explain yourself, to tell them why you left, to write that long message, to pour out your pain so they finally understand how much they hurt you. But let me ask you something real. When they walked away, when they ghosted you, when they made you feel invisible, did they sit down and give you closure? Number, they vanished without warning. They left you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., replaying conversations in your mind, wondering what you did wrong. And now that you're the one leaving, you feel guilty? You feel like you owe them an explanation? That's the lie you've been sold. Because here's the truth. Explanations don't create regret. Absence does. Imagine this. You're sitting in a packed theater. The movie's been building for 2 full hours. Tension, emotion, all leading to one big moment. You're on the edge of your seat, waiting for the final scene. And the screen cuts to black. No ending, no resolution, no credits, just silence. What happens next? Your mind can't let it go. You replay it. You wonder. You feel robbed. That is exactly what you do to someone when you walk away without a word. Because people expect closure. They expect a conversation. They expect to have the last word. That final wrap-up moment where everything is explained, tied up, and placed in a box they can walk away from. But when you give them nothing, when they reach for a resolution, and all they find is your absence, that's when it starts haunting them. That's when regret moves in like a shadow they can't shake. Because explanation brings peace. But silence brings obsession. And here's the part that gets you stuck. You're afraid. Afraid they'll think you didn't care. Afraid they'll assume they meant nothing. Afraid they'll forget about you if you don't make it clear. But let me tell you something real. If someone can forget about you just because you didn't explain yourself, they were never yours to begin with. And that should tell you everything you need to know. Because real impact isn't made with words. It's made with distance, with silence, with the unanswered questions that echo in the space where you used to be. Think about it. When was the last time you really missed something? Was it when you had easy access to it? When it was always available, always reaching out, always explaining itself? Or was it when it was gone? Suddenly, fully, finally, without warning. They didn't care when they had you, so let time teach them the value of what they lost. One deafening second at a time. When you realize too late that something is gone for good, that's when the real pain begins. That's when it finally clicks. It's never coming back. And that's how the human mind works. We don't obsess over what's explained. We obsess over what we'll never understand. That's why you must resist the urge to offer them a final explanation. Because right now you want to make them see your worth. You think that if you say the right words, they'll finally get it. But here's the truth. People don't recognize your value when you tell them. They recognize it when they feel the weight of your absence. When they reach out and get silence. When they look for answers and find emptiness. That's when it hits. So let them wonder. Let them sit alone with their thoughts. Let them lie awake at night, rewinding every memory like a broken tape. Desperate to figure out where it all went wrong. Because that is the real punishment. That is the lesson they never forget. And here's the twist. By the time they finally understand what they lost, by the time they come crawling back, begging for the closure they never gave you, you won't even care anymore. So now, my friends, it's time to make a decision. You can keep explaining, keep justifying, keep giving them the comfort of knowing why you left. Or you can walk away in silence. Let your absence say what your words never could. Say it with me. I owe no one an explanation. Write it in the comments. For them, for yourself, for the version of you that finally puts you first. Number 8, let time work against them. The longer they go without you, the more they feel it. Let this one really sink in. You think they're fine without you. You think they've moved on. You imagine them out there smiling, laughing, living their best life. And here you are, sitting in silence, staring at your phone, asking yourself, did I even matter? But hear me now. Time is your greatest ally. Because in the beginning, they don't feel it. They're too busy with distractions. They tell themselves they're better off, that walking away was the right choice. But time doesn't let people off easy. Imagine getting a brand new pair of shoes. Shiny, stylish, exciting. At first, you don't even think about the old pair, the ones that were always reliable, always comfortable. But then the new ones start to pinch. They don't feel quite right. And suddenly, you remember. You remember how perfectly the old ones used to fit, how they molded to you, how you took them for granted. And now they're gone, forever. That's how regret works. Because right now, they think they can replace you. They think they can find someone else to fill your space. But slowly, painfully, they begin to notice. No one listens like you did. No one understands like you did. No one feels like you did. And that's when the silence grows louder. That's when the emptiness creeps in like a slow, heavy fog. At first, they'll put on a show, post pictures, go out, fake happiness. But it's all for you. They're waiting for a reaction. They're watching to see if you're still watching. And when they get nothing, when the days turn to weeks, weeks into months, and still no sign of you, that's when time turns against them. That's when it starts to burn. But this is where most people break. They count the days, they refresh their inbox, they wait for the message that never comes, and because they're still waiting, they're not really gone. They're still tethered to the person who walked away. But you're not like them. You don't wait. You don't chase. You don't measure your worth in someone else's timeline. You trust time, because time always reveals the truth. One day they'll hear a song, and it'll stop them cold. One day they'll be out with friends, and their mind will drift, wondering where you are. One day they'll pick up their phone, type your name into the search bar, draft a message, and never hit send. Because by then, you'll be so far ahead, so evolved, so free, you won't even care anymore. So now you choose. Sit in the past, hoping they'll come back, or let time do what you never could. Make them feel the weight of your absence. Say it with me. I trust time to do the work. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're done waiting for someone who never deserved you in the first place. Because from this moment on, no more chasing, no more explaining, no more waiting. You let time handle them. You focus on you. Say it again, louder. I'm moving forward. No looking back. Type it in the comments. Stamp it on your soul. Because what's coming next is going to make sure they never see you the same way again.